ended up wanting to put together, since it was our first meeting here in January, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew a plan on what they needed to do. So I ended up going over this particular stuff at the Atlanta RIA that I have, and everybody thought that it was really good. Now, before I get started on the PowerPoint that I put together, first off, let me end up telling everybody that if you want to invest, you need to go where the money's at, okay? You need to go where the stuff is at, all right? If you don't know where stuff is at in your local area, you need to be willing to buy something that's outside of your local area. So here's something that's happening with me. I have stood up here ever since we were back at the regular hotel that we were at for 20 years. And I was talking about they're building a Rivian plant where I moved to. I moved from Marietta, Georgia to Lake Oconee, which is in Eatonton, Georgia, but it's about 2 hours from Atlanta. So I still, since I grew up in Marietta, Georgia, I still have my real estate investment group in Atlanta, so I go back and forth there the first Tuesday of every month. I do it then because that's the day that the auction is. They auction all the foreclosures on the courthouse steps in Georgia on the first Tuesday. So what I do is most of the people that end up going to my group go to the auction, and we end up seeing who's bidding. And you know, I try to teach people not necessarily to bid on these, though I do have people that do bid on stuff, and my brother Tony Youngs, he ends up bidding on stuff because he's good at it, and he knows people and everything. But the thing is that if you don't know what you're doing and you go to a real estate auction and you win the bid, that you probably paid too much. Because there's people out there that have been doing it for years and years and years, and they quit bidding when it's not a good deal anymore. So chances are, if you ended up winning the bid, there is a good chance that you paid too much for it because somebody would have done it. Now, why would you want to go there? Well, my brother Tony has always taught everybody, and I've repeated this on his behalf 100 times. If you're going to go to the auction, it's not necessarily that you want to go because you want to learn how to bid. Even if you do, you know, get with somebody that's been doing it for years so that you can pick up on their experiences. But the reason why Tony ends up taking people to there, and he's taught me to end up going to these things, is because everybody that goes to the auction is a cash buyer, because you have to have cash to buy on the courthouse steps. Does everybody follow me? So if you go out there and you have cards, if you're going to network and you're looking to build your buyers list, then where better to build your buyers list up than where everybody who's bidding has cash? Okay, does that make sense? Every single person there has cash, otherwise they're not bidding. The other thing that you want to do is you want to hear the ones that go back to the bank. Do you know why? Because if you hear, every time that they end up opening up the bidding, every time they open up the bidding, they end up being, the first bid is the bank that holds the mortgage, okay? And so it says the bid is from such and such bank at X amount of dollars, okay? So if nobody ends up bidding on that, and then you hear the crier, what they call the crier, end up saying, okay, there's been no other bids, so that is sold back to the bank. When you hear what bank made the first bid, that's the bank that you end up now knowing has that property. Once they take it back, regardless of what the mortgage was on the property, now follow me on this, especially if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about. Now I know some of you are seasoned and some of you might not be, but the thing is that whatever the bid was normally what the bank is owed plus the fees that the attorney is charging them to handle the auction or the proceedings, okay? Once it ends up going back to the bank, then all fees and all mortgages are wiped out. Everything is wiped out. So that means that that property has zero value, okay? The only value that it has from then on is what is an investor willing to buy it for cash from the bank. That's why you want to know this stuff, because if they open up the bid at $150,000, then you know that it was probably $130,000 and $20 in fees or back payments and stuff like that to end up starting the bid. Do you follow me? Okay. So if nobody ends up doing it, then everything is wiped out except if it has a federal tax lien or something like that. Then a lot of times a federal tax lien, I'm not going to say every single time, but there's most of the time a federal lien will stay attached to the property, or it can. They have a certain amount of time after somebody buys that house to attach it to that. So you need to find out in your area what that time limit is, so it doesn't surprise you. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because, number one, you need to build up your buyers list, okay? Number two, you're hearing who you make the offer to, okay? And if you are a cash buyer, or you have cash buyers now, okay, or you know somebody in this group that loans money, such as Mr. Goins' wife Pam has money, private money. You know, I do some private money, but not on the scale that they do. I do it to people that I know and everything. They do it for business. The other thing is that everybody that was around there, you know that they have cash, okay? So if you have their card or you exchange cards with them, then you can actually make a conversation with them and tell them that you are a professional bird dog, that you find properties and you are looking for people with cash that will buy your contracts so that you can wholesale contracts, okay? If you don't want to end up fixing up houses because you don't want to be a rehabber, but you still want to be in the real estate business and you want to end up making money, then you can go out and find people that will you can put a property under contract that has X amount of profit in it, and then these people will buy that contract from you, called wholesaling, for a cash fee, okay? Now, before we get off of the subject and everything, does anybody have any questions about that? Is that a good way for somebody to end up getting cash that does not have any cash to get into the real estate business? Because you hear people say, you can buy properties with no money down, okay? You have to have somebody's money, okay? There are ways and there are instances that you can do no money down properties, but 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be using somebody else's cash, okay? Now, before we move on to anything else, Larry, would you like to stand up and end up letting everybody know, since we're on the subject of private money, what y'all offer?
Sure. So, we've been doing real estate for about 35 years, something like that. Bought and sold, I don't know, close to 1,000 properties maybe.
At least.
Yes, and also do self-storage and also do some self-storage and stuff like that. But I do lending now primarily, and my wife has the money, and I just go out and find people that want to borrow it. You got one of these, don't you? So yeah, that's kind of what look. I had one left, just one. So yeah, that's what we do. If you're looking to borrow money for a fix and flip, or for a BRRRR, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. If you need short-term money, that's kind of what we do. We'll loan the money to buy the property, and we'll hold the money in escrow for the repairs, and as the work's done, we'll release that money, and then when you get it done, you sell it, pay us off, or you refinance it with a bank and pay us off, and then keep it as a rental. You know, it's kind of what we do. You do some of that too.
Do a little bit of that, but not on the scale that you do.
I don't know about that.
And the other thing is that, not only is he, in the hair club for men, but, we're also clients. Actually, that was a joke there and everything, but, Larry and I have been working together for, over 20-some years now.
Working and playing together.
Yes,
We're
we've
going
been,
playing in a couple weeks.
we have, actually traveled the world, we met during business, we met speaking, doing these things. We've been on literally as many cruises as you can count and everything, speaking on these things.
You've been on a lot more than I have.
We're actually gonna be, on cruises, we're on the National Rio Cruise is February 2nd to the 9th. And then on the same boat going to a different area is the Generations of Wealth cruise, which we happen to be on both. And so we don't even have to get off the boat or change rooms, so, but we get paid twice. So that's kind of fun, you know, and we've been doing that. And, you know, Larry and I, and Pam and my wife Barb, and Carl and Vicky, we have actually ended up going countless places, and we have so many memories that real estate has brought us into, that we have joined businesses together, we've started businesses together. We end up going to each other's house. You've heard of people paying $35,000 and $40,000 and stuff to join these mastermind groups, which we all have done. We pay for it. We've got $200,000 in books and tapes, materials, so don't feel bad. We've done it too and everything, but you know, over the years we just started, hey, do you have mine? No. Do you have mine? No. Here, I'll swap yours, you give me, you know. And so we build the library because you can learn something from every single person, you know, even if it's just one thing. But, you know, just without going down memory lane for too much and everything, one of my favorite memories is that 33 years my wife and I have been together, and I used to speak at 200 plus events a year. So she became a travel agent. And then when she found out that most of my friends were traveling speakers too, and national speakers, then she started booking their hotels and stuff and speaking gigs. And we used to have these big investor bonanzas, which was a cheap knockoff of Investor Palooza, which is something that Larry used to do. But anyway, they were like 300 or 400 people for 5 days and stuff like that, with multiple buses going and looking at properties. And we joke back and forth about who stole each other's, you know, concept and everything. But it's all been fun. But we were speaking in Hawaii, and my wife became a travel agent because if she's going to be booking me anyway, then why not get paid for it? And since all of my friends, my brother, and you know, my 10 biggest friends in the world are all real estate speakers, then she books them too. And then when we do a 5-day event, what we call Investor Palooza or Investor Bonanza, whether it be his or mine, then if we've got 300 people or 250 people for 5 days, think about that. 5 room nights for 250 people, and you're the travel agent that booked it. Okay, so you get a commission off of every one of those rooms. So that's enough to end up having a girls' cruise week and everything, you know, that she ends up making off of one thing. So she ends up booking us Airbnbs instead of hotels, so that we don't have to stay at the same hotel that we're speaking at. We were doing a big event in Hawaii, and it was a 5-day event, and we decided that we were gonna stay for 10 days because it was Hawaii. And we ended up taking your mom?
My mom and my kids.
Yep, mom and his kids, which are great. We had a great time and everything. Our wives, obviously, and everything. And we were staying on Hawaii Kai. We had a a big house that we rented and we shared it, and it had a swimming pool, and across the street was the beach and all that. And Larry and I would drive 15 minutes to the Embassy Suites Hotel that was in on the main part of where we were at, Hawaii. We were on Hawaii Kai, but it was like 15-minute drive. But and we would go to work and do our seminar stuff, and then we would come back, and then we'd go to luau's and all that kind of stuff. And we stayed for several extra days afterwards. Well, it turns out that while we were out there, we found out that the neighbors next to us were Dog the Bounty Hunter and Beth, because they were filming Dog the Bounty Hunter in Hawaii at the time, and they were one of our neighbors. So it was kind of fun to end up doing some stuff like that. But anyway, we'll have to get away from stuff like that. So anyway, you will end up making not only network people in here for business, but the business people that you do the most business with will become your friends for life. And it will just become something that it's a way of life. And you'll never retire, okay? You'll quit work, but you'll never retire, because you know, once you end up getting this in your blood, and you know it's just a matter of finding your next property, and you've figured it out over the time, then you know that don't burn yourself out, killing yourself trying to find that one that's going to make you the big deal. Just end up coasting through life and get a bunch of little deals and everything, and they add up, okay? See, everybody wants to get that one big deal, and then they think that they can quit. But once you get it in your blood, you'll take those, you get the big deals, and they'll come every so often, but the big thing is keep the little deals going, okay? The little deals, because that's the money that's always there. And once you end up getting yourself to where you have enough passive income coming in, then you don't have to go to a job. See, the trick is work hard first, so that you work hard for your money, and then once you have some money, let your money work for you, because otherwise you'll work the rest of your life. Okay. All right, now
Our money needs a job, by the way, so if anybody has a job for our money, let's put it to work.
That's it. That's awesome. Okay, so now that we've ended up going through that, I'm going to end up going over some things that are very, very important, especially when it's the first of the year or the first part of stuff that you're doing, okay? So let's go with this. All right, you need to invest in things that pay dividends, okay? Always invest in something that pays dividends. And the reason being is because everything that you do in the real estate business should end up making you some money. Okay, if you're doing things that all they do is cost you money, then you're going to go broke. You have to make sure that you invest in things. Okay, we all have a savings account. We all have a checking account. Okay, but how many of you have checked to see if your bank has what's called a high interest savings account? How many of you have not checked in on that? I mean, let's be honest, okay? Because if you end up having to where it's just in the bank account, they're not going to come to you and say, hey, we're paying you 0.5% or 1% or 1.5% on your money and everything. Did you know that we have a high interest, and all you have to do is just make sure that you have a little bit more of a balance, and as long as you keep that balance in your savings account, we'll give you 5% on your money, okay? So this is one thing that, you know what? That's something that happens while you sleep, okay? You're making 5% on your money. If you have a savings account, put it in there. Put it in a high interest account. And it's normally around 5%, okay? If you have like a self-directed IRA or anything like that, Camaplan, which is camaplan.com, CAMAPLAN.com. Camaplan.com is the people that we have been using for decades, okay? And that's owned by Carl Fisher and his sister, Maggie. And they are the preferred IRA and Roth and self-directed IRA companies for the real estate investment groups that we have several hundred of them across the United States. It's called National RIA. And so Metroliner RIA is one of them. North Metro RIA is one of them. So I own 2 of them, but there's hundreds all over the country. So they've got to be good in order to do that. They do not charge you a fee for anything unless you end up telling them what to do. See, a lot of the IRA companies out there, they end up having a portfolio of things that they try and get you to invest in. Okay? Well, they're making money off of your money. Okay? That seems to me like it's a conflict of interest, even though it's not. Okay? But Camaplan, their idea is all they are is custodians. They hold your money for you, and it costs it'll cost you $1 if you're in one of my groups and you want to open up an IRA, whether it be a Roth, a self-directed, a traditional, whatever. You can go on the Metroliner website, or you can call the number and tell them that you're a member of one of Pete Young's clubs, and that they are offering a $1 sign-up fee to open up a self-directed IRA. Okay? Even if you have a child or a grandchild that you want to do this for, then you normally have to have an IRA or one of these type of funds for 5 years before you can actually do something with it. How many of you did not know that? So the earlier you open one up and start putting some money into it, then after 5 years, you can start investing for what was a newborn, or could have been your child or a grandchild or something like that. Then you can start investing their money for them and actually use what you've been doing to invest so that you can build their own education account and stuff. So there's a lot of different ways that you do that, okay? Now, here's something that a lot of people don't know. On the back of any credit card that you have, okay, any credit card, you name it, then on the back of the card, there's an 800 number, okay? On the back of that card, where the 800 number is, once every year or once every 2 years, people do not realize that you can do this, but you can do 2 things. You can call them and you can ask them to lower your interest rate. And people don't know this, okay? Now, I learned this. You can also ask for a credit increase, okay, if you want to increase your credit. Now, here's how I ended up learning this. And this is what I want you not to get sucked into. If you go to one of these great big seminars to where they are famous for selling these things that are real estate trainings for $30,000, $40,000, and $50,000, what they do is at the beginning, they end up going, how many of you out there have a credit card? And everybody raises their hands. Who's got a gold? They raise their hand and everything. There's people in the room that's seeing who has a gold. Okay, who has a silver? Okay, and there's somebody right now. Who has a platinum? Okay, who has this? Who has that? And everything. So now they know who they target for what level of training they're going to try and sell you to. So it is a business, okay? Unless you come to some individual like us. See, for 18 years I got paid, and so did my brother Tony, from Ron LeGrand, Russ Whitney, Robert Kiyosaki, all of these TV people. We were on all of their stuff and everything, but for 18 years we taught boot camps that they were charging thousands of dollars for, and in order to make room on your credit card so that you'd have it, they would have these 3-day seminars. And on the first day, we're gonna have a competition, and we're gonna give you free gifts for whoever gets the best, okay? There's a number on the back of your card. Call that 800 number. Call it after 4 o'clock so that it's not the regular bosses and this, that, and the other. I'd end up telling them, hey, you know what? I want to lower my interest rate. Okay, this is a good thing. If once every year or once every 2 years, you can call and say, hey, I haven't missed a payment. I haven't done this. I would like for you to lower my interest rate. And if you're paying 20%, 19%, 22% or whatever, they may end up knocking it down 6%, okay, something like that, which would be a great savings. So I'm saying do that, okay? But what they tell you at some of these seminars is, okay, now that you've done that, I need to increase my credit limit, okay? Because I haven't increased my credit limit in a long time. And they go, well, what do you want it to? And you ask, they say, ask for the moon. You know, if you've got a $10,000 credit limit, ask them for 25. If you've got a 25, ask them for a 50. And what they're doing is they're making room on your credit card for what they're gonna sell you on the third day. Y'all follow me on this?
Yeah.
There's people out there that want you to spend $30, $40, $50,000. You know what? You want to end up going out with me for $1,000. I give you a set of books and tapes. So does my brother, does the same thing. Take you out for 3 days, show you 30 properties that are good deals, and if you get a deal, it's yours. Okay? So, you know, you can spend a lot of money, and a lot of people do need to do that. Okay? But some people just need to spend $1,000 and have somebody show them where the deals are. Okay? So, you know, it's just what you're thinking about. Now, where I live, there's a Rivian plant being built out there, okay? And that means that they're gonna bring 7,500 employees out there. There's no affordable houses out there. All there is Lake Oconee, and then there's the golf course subdivisions that are $1 million and up subdivisions, okay? I happened to get in before the prices were too high, so I got lucky enough to get in and everything, and then everything tripled. So if I hadn't moved there 4.5 years ago, I probably couldn't afford to have bought what I bought. Okay, but the thing is now it's worth 3 times more than what I paid for it. Now I bought this as a fixer-upper, hoping to end up fixing it up and wait for something that was more to what I wanted, and then I was going to buy it. But the thing was, is when it tripled, then it put me out of my price range. Okay, I could probably buy it, but I don't want to struggle. Okay, I didn't work all my life to end up now struggling when I'm trying to retire. Okay, so I found out this. Went to the Planning and Zoning Board. Go to the Planning and Zoning Board. If you end up going in there, you can find out what they have approved for the next 5 to 7 years. If you see what's going to be, what has been approved for the next 5 to 7 years, do you think that you would know where to start buying property and land and stuff like that before the price goes up? Okay, if it says there's going to be 2 exit ramps coming off at this part of I-20, then would you know to buy in that corner? Because there's going to be banks, gas stations, grocery stores, you know, do you follow me? Okay, all right, so they're building something called Arabella out there, which is going to be 120 shops. It's going to be $1 million up condominiums and retail and all kinds of stuff, which this place only has 2 traffic lights in it right now. And they're gonna put a convention center and stuff like that. So I've been telling everybody for 3 years that's been coming to Metrolina, come with me, let's drive, let's find 10 acres, 15 acres, 20 acres. Cut one road off of the main road. Put 12 houses in this 10 acres, okay? 12 houses, a clubhouse, and a swimming pool, and 2 pickleball courts. Make every house identical in square footage. Make some ranch, some split level, so that they have a little bit of a choice, but the same price range, same everything, and give them 3-bedroom, 2-bath, fenced yard, but it's 1 street, 1 cul-de-sac, 1 swimming pool, 1 clubhouse, couple of pickleball courts. Sell them for $300,000, build them for $120 a foot, okay? All right, any place that's inside one of those gates, they're charging $400 to $500 a foot to build a house. That's why they're in the millions, okay? There's no affordable housing. So ever since I've been talking about that, These places are going up like hot cakes everywhere. And I ended up taking my Atlanta group, and we drove around. Everybody paid a little bit of money. I went and drove them around, and they ended up seeing the places, and we started buying pieces of property, 10 acre lots, 15 acre lots, that you can end up getting builders to partner with you. Okay, and that's what you do. You don't have to do the whole thing yourself. If you own the land, somebody's going to come and get it. Okay, and here's another thing. If you end up seeing that there's a bunch of parcels split on the same road, and this one's 25 acres, this one's 38 acres, this one's 15 acres, this one's 10, this one's 32, this one's 48, buy the small ones in the center, the 10 or 15. Because the ones that are closest to the streets are the biggest ones, okay, to the main streets. They're gonna start building on those first. If you can buy those for $5,000 to $10,000 an acre right now, which you can, where I'm at, 15 acres, 150 grand, okay, 25 acres, 250 grand. That's split between a couple of people and everything. That's not really a big stretch for some people, okay? But let's just say they start building these things on there. Once the building starts getting, what's going to happen to that $10,000 per acre? Then if somebody comes in, even if you don't want to touch it and you just sit on it, the closer they get to yours, somebody goes, how come you're not building on it? I'm just wanting to sell it. Really, what do you want for it? Well, I'll take $15,000 an acre. They don't care that you paid 10 for it. They're thinking that's going to be worth 25 soon, okay? Or I'd rather build on it. So if you don't want to build on it, sit on it. Let it make you money. Don't do a damn thing with it. Do you follow me? So it's just a matter of doing stuff like that, okay? It's smart thinking, okay? All right. Switch to zero. Okay, anybody in here know anybody who's in debt, credit card debt? We all do, okay? So, you know, I mean, if you don't want to raise your hand, that's fine. We all know somebody in credit card debt. Here's what we do, okay? I know lots of youngsters that come to the real estate groups and they end up going, man, I've got credit card debt like you wouldn't believe, okay? I've got student loans, I've got this, I've got that. You know, I'm $30,000 in debt. Well, how many times do you see that there's companies out there, and if you go online and you end up doing stuff like Clark Howard, go on Clark Howard's website, which is in Atlanta. He's a consumer advocate, and he's a big real estate guy too, and he's very, very friendly and everything. And he'll tell you the credit cards out there that are offering 0 interest if you'll transfer your balance from one card. That if you're paying 22 to 25%, or if you've missed a payment and you go up to 28%, because you missed a payment, they can do that without even telling you, okay? But if you're paying 20, 22, 24%, and you want to get out from under that big payment, then end up transferring your balance to a 0 interest credit card for the year, and then bust your butt to pay it off during that year. Because they pay off your 22% interest one, you follow me? Because you transferred your balance. And they think that you're going to end up running a big balance because you're not going to pay it off during that year. But if you work your way to do it, then do you realize that you're actually going to save yourself probably another $20,000 or $30,000 in interest payments by transferring into something like that? Are these good tips? Is this helpful? Okay. All right. Repair your credit. Okay. If anybody doesn't think that having credit that's good is something that needs to be done, then somebody's telling you that's not. They're not telling you the truth. I can remember sitting in seminars, hearing multiple speakers say, you don't need credit because you can borrow the money. I mean, we loan money, he loans money. You can get money anywhere that you want and everything. But there's going to be a point in your life where you're going to wish that you had credit. So here's how you end up making sure that you can repair your credit. Go on one of these places that will give you a free credit report once a year. from all three of the major ones, okay? You see them advertised all the time, okay? Free credit report, and you get a free credit report once a year, and anything that you have negative on there, then you write a letter disputing it, whether it's true or not, okay? I don't care if you know good and damn well that you didn't pay this thing off and it's on your credit report, dispute it, okay? Because then, once you dispute it with Experian or whatever the company that has it on that credit report, then they contact the people that ended up putting that on your credit report. Normally, it's somebody who ends up finding somebody who's in debt and reports it to Experian or something, and they get a fee for reporting that. And then they don't care anything about it. So when you end up having Experian and you or whatever the other ones are, and they end up sending a letter, please send proof of this debt. You have 30 days to do so, or you have to remove it. How many of you did not know that? Okay, and if they don't produce the document that shows that this is a valid debt, then they have to remove it from your credit report. And 9 times out of 10, they're not the person who ended up finding that you were in that debt and reported it to the credit bureau. It's somebody who gets paid to do it. And when they send it to the company that's holding it, then they can't find your original paperwork. They can't find your paperwork, you know, and you can go 7 years, you know, and anything that's over 7 years old, then you can automatically say that's over 7 years old, take it off. How many of you didn't know that? All right. So I already told you about the prepaid credit card. Oh, no, I didn't. If you're trying to establish credit, there's places that you can go and take $500 in there. End up telling them you want a prepaid credit card. Okay, it's your own money. They're not going to end up telling you you can't have it. Okay, they'll give you a prepaid credit card because it's your money. But what you do is you end up going out and just use it to buy your gas. Okay, buy your gas and everything, and that's all you do. But every month, pay that gas thing off. Even if it's $200 that your credit limit is, okay? 200, 500, whatever you want. But once you end up doing that for 12 months, you have established a credit rating. Do you follow me on that? It doesn't matter how much it is, you have a good credit rating, okay? So that's something, all right? Everybody in here has monthly utility payments and anything that's monthly. If you end up having something that you can prove that when you are applying for credit, then if you end up putting in there that you have paid your electricity bill for 28 months without missing a single payment, whatever else monthly and everything, that is a credit thing, okay? That's something that you're charged every 30 days and you've paid it without being late. That is establishing credit, and a lot of people don't realize that, okay? Another thing, there was somebody that I know that used to talk about these all the time. Take out a small loan and everything, called a passbook loan is what they called it back then. I don't know what it's called now, but you go into a bank and everything and get a signature loan for $1,000 or $2,000, okay? Hold on to it for 3 or 4 months. They end up having you make payments for $30 for whatever it is, or, you know, for the monthly payment, and it might be at what, 10% interest or you know, whatever the interest rate may be. But you know what? Pay it for 6 months, and then don't do anything with that money except just use it to pay it. Don't spend it, and then pay off the balance with a little bit of your extra of your own money after you've paid the interest on it. Now you have a loan that you have taken from a bank, and now you have a credit referral with that bank. Once you end up doing it for $1,000 or $2,000 and you pay it off, Then you come back in and say, hey, I had a loan with y'all and I paid it off and everything. I'd like to end up getting another loan and everything. I want this one to be for 10,000. And you do the same thing, okay? And you pay it off in 6 months and everything, but you don't spend the money. You just, all you're doing is you're establishing credit. You follow me? And then when you end up seeing a deal and you need $20,000 for it, you have established credit because you've done these things that I've been telling you about. Do you follow me? Okay, this is very important to people that don't have a credit report. And you know what? I'm not telling you this because I think that there's people out there that don't have any credit, which I know there are, but this is for something like I know somebody who's got a spouse, and it doesn't matter whether it's one side or the other, male, female, it doesn't matter if it's what it is, okay? If you've got a partnership with somebody and whatever it is that you do in your life and you have a life partner of some sort, okay, a significant other, then chances are one of you has decent credit and one of you doesn't. So one of you normally ends up getting all the loans, all the cars in your name, all the mortgages in your name and everything. What happens if you pass away? Now your significant other has no credit established. And even if you were together for 50 years, there's little old ladies, little old men, people that had significant others that they passed away and now they have no credit established to do anything on their own. So these are things that you need to do to establish your credit. Now, do you want to know why significant other is so important? I'm going to show you something. The reason why significant other, you have to make sure that your significant other has good credit. How do you spell significant other? Significant. Sign if I can't. Do y'all follow me? Your significant other. Sign if I can't. That's how you spell significant. Whenever you pick a significant other, make sure they can sign if you can't. That's why it's important. And that's just funny as hell, no matter who you are. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so, you can do this stuff with private money lenders and everything. Okay, how many of you want to end up saving half the interest or almost half the interest on your mortgage? Okay, instead of paying every month, once a month, did you know that if you paid that same mortgage payment that you have and you split it in half and paid every 2 weeks instead of once a month, that's like making 2 payments? It's the same amount, but what it is that it's going to end up, see, once you end up figuring out how many weeks are there in a year compared to how many months. If you do it by the month, you make 12 payments. But if you do it by every 2 weeks, how many payments are there then? You make at least one more payment towards the principal, not just the interest. You follow me? 90% of your loan is paying off interest most of the time, and then you end up getting to where you're starting to pay principal, okay, later on down the road. So, yes?
I got a question on that. What if the bank or the lender doesn't accept that 2 week thing? Because I have tried to do that, and they just hold it. They'll hold that first half, and then they'll wait till the second half, and then
Okay.
the whole thing will be paid.
All right, so his question was, what if the bank doesn't accept it if you want to pay every 2 weeks and they hold it and then put the whole balance at the one time at the end of the month? Okay, then you can do this. End up making one extra payment per year for principal only.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Okay?
you have to tell them principal only, cause they tried to pull some sneaky ones on us.
Yes.
And
You,
we have to tell them every
They'll
time.
label it as prepaid interest.
Yeah, yeah, they try to pull that quick one on you. You
Yeah,
have to
but what
check
you
it
want-
every time.
What you wanna do is end up telling them that, I'm making this payment towards principal only and everything, if that becomes an issue. Okay, which is the next thing that I was gonna do. Okay, now, setting new goals, okay? Every time that we get close to a new year, everybody wants to end up setting new goals, everybody wants to have all this new stuff going on, and, everybody makes all these promises and resolutions and all kinds of stuff. Did you know that there's something out there they have a Friday that's actually called, Resolution Killer Friday? Because once you end up making a New Year's resolution and stuff, then by the second Friday of the second month, you've quit doing what your resolution was gonna be, okay? So, here's something that my brother Tony ended up doing. He ended up talking about this, last week at North Metro RIA, the other club that we have. And, he said, you gotta end up making sure that you see what your goals are and you set goals, okay? I can remember 40 years ago, possibly even longer than that, when Tony and I first started in the speaking business, we were traveling around, and Tony was speaking for a guy named Dave Delgado, and this was way back, and we used to do stuff with his company, and it was in Hawaii all the time, and it was on Waikiki Beach with Diamond Head in the background and all this kind of stuff. It was great, and every time that we ended up seeing people speaking that were up there, that were the featured speakers and stuff, they had the spotlights on them, and you could see that their watches and their rings and everything were brilliant, blinding and everything, and so we ended up watching, and all of a sudden we were like, man, I gotta have one of them Rolex watches. And this was years and years, decades ago, okay? So, and then, everybody had a fancy car and all this kind of stuff, because the more successful you were, the more stuff you had. Just like, how many times do you see football players now? I mean, football players are now wearing $300,000 to $1 million worth of diamond necklaces around there playing football. Okay, I've seen somebody get mad and rip one of them's gold chain off and everything, but there's some guy on one of the teams I watched the other day. He's number 18 on one of the teams, and I'm not going to say his name, I can't really remember, but he's got 3 chains around there that are diamonds and everything, and then they have diamond teeth and all this kind of stuff, $300,000 worth of diamond teeth and all that. Well, anyway, so Tony ended up seeing a picture of a Trans Am that he wanted so bad, and he put it on his refrigerator. And we both wanted Rolex watches and everything, and we put a picture of one on our refrigerator and stuff like that. And every single day when we went to the refrigerator, and we're fat, okay? Well, Tony's not. But, so I go to the refrigerator a lot, so that's why I put it on the refrigerator, so, I mean, I think, Larry, I've got a joke for this. I'm sitting here wondering whether I should do it or not. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Okay, when you're young and everything, you go to the refrigerator. This is why you have kids early in your marriage, because you end up going to the refrigerator, you see nothing that interests you, and you go to the bedroom. When you get older, you go to the bedroom, you see nothing that interests you, you go to the refrigerator. But anyway, that's bad. But I heard somebody else tell that joke. I copied it. That was not me. Okay, so that's not my opinion. God bless the little pygmies. So I've heard that from Larry the Cable Guy or something. Anyway, Tony says, set goals, all right? Whatever your figure is, Tony ends up saying, you know, I wanna make $250,000 this year, or whatever your figure is. You know, if you wanna make 50, if you wanna make 100, whatever it is, put it up there so that you see it every day, okay? Every single day, all right? Tony, who ends up having something called the hidden market, which is what he has created and what he teaches, that is basically where he goes out and teaches people how to find properties that don't have for sale signs. Okay, they're not listed. People don't even know they're for sale. Okay, but he ends up going and he finds these hidden market properties that nobody else is bidding on, so that he doesn't have the competition. And that's how Tony has made his wealth and his claim to fame, is by teaching people how to find properties that nobody else knows are for sale yet. Okay, so these hidden market things, obviously you can go to his website, TonyYoungs.com, and everything, and he'll tell you some basic background about what that's about. And so, but basically, he ends up doing this too. If you're gonna be in the real estate business, then what he said to everybody, and this is what we all do, is that we end up, he will plot a course of 8 properties every week, okay? 8 properties that are listed foreclosures, okay? I end up looking for properties that are listed vacant, bank-owned properties, okay? The reason why I like bank-owned properties that are vacant and that are listed is because, number one, I know they're for sale. Number two, I know I can get in them, okay? Now, Tony wants to end up going to the properties, and he teaches how to end up going to properties that nobody knows are for sale. And so he buys them and he gets them for a great, great price with no competition. Mine, I know there's gonna be tons of people bidding on, because mine are listed on the MLS. His are not, okay? Now, his stuff works great, but here's why my stuff works good for me and the people that do what I do, okay? I teach people how to end up doing mold inspection, okay? As part of my group of teaching, other than taking people to Home Depots, because I am the Home Depot coach, okay? I've been dressing up as Homer for 20 some years, and everywhere that I go in the United States and I do a 3-day training, part of my training is that for half a day, I end up dressing up as Homer, and I end up taking you on a bus, and we go to whatever local Home Depot there is, and I go through and I show you the tools and the things that are hidden in Home Depot that you have no idea will make you a fortune, okay? Little tools that cost under 29 bucks that every investor should have, and stuff like that. But I've been pushing Home Depot and their tools and stuff for over 30 years, and that's why they sponsor me, okay? And they sponsor any National RIA group and everything, and we get 20% off on all paint and everything by being a member of one of my groups, one of National RIA's groups and everything. We get 2% rebates, provided that you spend a certain amount of money. But you know, it's all great. But the reason why I end up wanting the listed bank-owned properties is because I know that the first thing that a bank does when they take over a property is they cut the power, so it doesn't cost them any money, okay? That means that if you come to my $199 per person mold inspector course, which if you Google mold inspection course with a certificate on there, and mine's based on the EPA, so not everybody's is, okay? But if you end up Googling those, then you're gonna see it's $500 or $600 per person, okay? I do it for $199. You know why? Because I want people to bring me a deal. They don't always, and you know, a lot of people never do. But the reason why I do that is because every single bank-owned property, they will let you in if you are interested in buying it. It's listed for sale. They want to sell it. Do you follow me? You will be able to get inside, okay? But there's going to be other people that are bidding against you. But And it's gonna say, this is sold as is. Do y'all follow me? Sold as is, okay? But you're allowed to end up doing an inspection of the inside, because that's just law. Everybody gets an inspection, okay? Normally it's a 10-day inspection. So what I do is everybody that comes through my training, you pay the $199, or it's part of my courseware that I sell. And but if you just want to go through the mold inspection course and get your certificate that says that you've been through the course, and you can end up going in these properties and run a mold test in there. And every single one, 100%, not 90%, not 70%, not 20%, 100% test positive for several types of mold, mildew, toxins, allergens, and bacteria. So there's not a single room in the world that will not test positive unless it's some sort of laboratory that has air cleaning and all kinds of stuff. This room has it. The room that you live in has it. Your living room has it. My living room has it. My bedroom has it. My crawl space has it. My patio has it. Every single place has mold, okay? It's gonna test positive. And if you end up going through the thing that I teach, then all you do is you end up are qualified to, well, you go through the whole test to see what remediation's all about and everything, but you never do any remediation or anything. Basically, the reason why you do this class is to learn how to set up a machine to suck the air through a little air sample, okay? And this air sample that collects the air, you send off to an independent laboratory. So it's not you that says that it's got mold in it, or the toxins, or the allergens, or bacteria. It's just like, how many of you ever got a speeding ticket? If you ever want to end up going to court and fight the speeding ticket, then all they do is they bring the cop up there and they say, were you certified? Do you have a valid certificate that showed that you knew how to calibrate the gun that said that they were speeding? Because it's not the cop that said you were speeding. It's the fact that he has a certificate that he was trained to take the machine, the little gun, and he calibrated it, and it said that you were speeding. And as long as he has a valid certificate of training that says, yes, I was qualified to use that gun that said that they were speeding, then you're guilty. You follow me? If you are qualified and you have a certificate to end up setting up that machine to suck the air in, and you have a certificate from going through my class, which you get at the end, but you got to pass a 45-question test, which nobody's ever failed, okay? But the thing is that it's not you saying that there's mold, toxins, allergens, and bacteria in it. It's an independent laboratory. And at the bottom of this, and it'll tell you, it'll find 10, 12, 13, or 14, 15 different types of molds and allergens and everything, and it prints you out a copy that it sends to you on an email, and you print it out, you put it in after you end up going in and you make your offer and you get an inspection period. Then you come back and say, hey, I have to amend my offer because we ended up testing the property and it's got, look at all these different kinds of molds, toxins, allergens, and bacteria in it. And from the laboratory itself, it says that some people can become seriously ill and or die from these, being exposed to these things that are in this house. Do you follow me on that? So now, the bank says, well, we said that we were selling it as is. And you go, I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm asking you to give me a discount on what it's going to cost to fix it. And with this test, you already have a mold remediation company that says it's going to cost this much money to get the mold out, okay? But the EPA says that if you use these cleanup chemicals, provided that you don't have toxic mold in there, but no bankers know what a toxic mold is. The only people who know what a toxic mold is are the people that have been through the mold class. So they see 27 different kinds of molds, mildews, toxins, and bacteria in the house, and it can cause people that are allergic to have serious illness and or death. Now the bank, and it says that it's gonna cost $20,000 for the remediation company to rip out the cabinets and replace the carpets and stuff like that. And you end up saying, here's the estimate on what it's gonna cost. That's exactly what I want the discount to be from what you're asking from the price. Okay, remember, once it goes through the foreclosure process, then there's no mortgage value and the property has no value anymore. It's what will somebody give them for cash? And you're offering cash money because you have cash buyers that will back you, or you can borrow money from us. Do you follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they can't really say no because of this. If they end up not working a deal with you based on that, then they, by law, have to disclose a copy of that mold inspection report that the lab sent and the repair cost that it's gonna cost to every buyer that came and made an offer before or every buyer that comes in after. And the bank does not want to have a property that's labeled with something in it that does not, that somebody could get sick or they could die from, okay? So they would just as soon sell you the property for whatever cash you're willing to do it. And if they won't sell it to you for your offer, then they normally counter offer. Because other than that, they either have to fix it or disclose it. And if you disclose it, then if somebody goes in there, and they get sick from it because they're allergic, then the bank's liable, okay? But so people are going, so Pete, how do you fix that? Remember, in this same course, once I end up getting the discount from the bank, then I end up doing the rest of the course that I teach you, that the EPA says if you clean everything up with this, and you don't do it yourself, you just end up giving these chemicals, these cleanup materials, which you can buy at most anywhere, and you just have the people that clean your carpets, that clean your bathrooms, clean your kitchens, do your stuff and everything. You just have them use these things, and you do one test to show that it's bad. Then after you do the cleanup, after you've bought the property and everything, then you send, after you clean up, you send up another test of the air sample back to the same laboratory and say, compare it to the one that was before. The only way they come back is elevated or non-elevated. There's not anywhere in there that says what's bad or what's good. But the thing is the first one's always elevated, and if there's nothing to compare it to, then it's always elevated. These are the elevated levels that we found. Once you end up doing the cleanup, so if I ended up having dirt right here and you saw this is dirty, and then you tested it for dirt, yep, there's dirt there. And then I cleaned it up and you tested it again, there'd be less dirt there, correct? So it went from elevated to non-elevated. So now when you sell or rent the property, you end up saying, we had the place tested for mold, toxins, allergens, and bacteria, and here's the report from the laboratory that says there's nothing elevated in this house at the time that you end up selling the house or renting the house. So unless they do something to cause it, then you're doing what the law says, and there's no problem with it whatsoever. But you ended up, all right, so the reason why I do it in the kitchen is because that's where the most amount of money is to remodel a house, okay? So now there's people out there that probably go, well, Pete, if you end up doing that, then won't they end up, if you're in the same area and you're buying more properties, then they're gonna go, oh, all the banks need to end up blacklisting this guy because this is Pete, and Pete's gonna end up running a mold test in there and try and get it for a discount. Well, no, it actually works quite the opposite, because once they find out that you will buy a mold property, then the ones that they already know have mold in them, that they know that they can't put on the market because they have mold in them, then they'll send you a list of everyone they got, because they know that you'll buy a mold property. And they'll sell it to you for what you'll offer. Now, they're gonna send you the worst ones first, okay? But that's okay, because as long as see, if it is a toxic mold, then you end up hiring a remediation company and you actually use the money that you saved to remediate the property, because we don't wanna sell a property that's actually dangerous. But 90% of the properties never have anything in there that's more than just the same kind of mold that you would find in your refrigerator that you just toss in the garbage, you know, and wash your hands off. 90% of the time and everything, somebody might get a sniffle or they might get a watery eye and everything. It's a no-brainer and everything. So Tony ends up plotting 8 properties that he knows are in foreclosure, but while he's looking at those, then he'll find 30 hidden market properties that he teaches you how to spot those ones that aren't listed. Okay, now we'll wholesale those properties to investors that you meet at the foreclosure auctions. Okay, so any ones that you end up seeing, if you don't want to go through with the deal, get them under contract and then sell them to the people. Say, hey, I got a contract of a property that's got $25,000 profit potential. I'll sell it to you for $5,000. You know, and it's cash. You never end up having to put your name in the courthouse. You're never on any paperwork and everything. You just get $5,000 cash, okay, or whatever it is. The higher the dollar amount that the person is going to make, the higher that you can charge for the wholesale contract. Here's another goal that you set. I want to rehab 2 to 3 houses this year. Okay, all right. There's a lot of people out there. I know that Larry ends up doing 10 to 15 houses a month. Okay, so the thing is where do you want to be? Okay, obviously he's been doing it for a long time, and he's got a system going and everything, and he knows what to do, and that's what he's comfortable with. Can he buy 50 in a month? Absolutely. Does he want to? Probably not. Okay, so he gets to a place where he's comfortable. But if you think that 2 or 3 in a year, if you can do one every 3 months, then you know you're doing real good. One every 4 months and everything, then that's 3 a year. You know, that's not out of your reach. Okay, that's a part-time real estate business. You might end up saying that you want to pick up 3 rental houses this year. You know what? Look for ones that have owner finance. Okay, here's something else. Anybody out there know somebody who's got some money? Okay, or let's say you inherited some money. Let's say that somehow or other you have $100,000. Okay, let's just use round figures, because in the business that we're in, a lot of times $100,000 seems a nice round figure for people to end up working with. As a hard money lender or a private money lender, $100,000 is a pretty often number used. So let's say that just for making it easy, because most people end up charging points and 15%. Okay, but let's just say that it was you had $100,000 and you were going to give somebody a loan for $100,000, and they were going to give you 12% interest only until they fixed the house up and sold it, and then they'd pay you your $100,000 back. Okay, so you give the $100,000 to the person, they pay you $1,000 a month, interest only, and it takes them 6 months to end up finishing the house and pay you back the $100,000. You made $6,000 by loaning your money, and you still have the $100,000. You follow me? You made $6,000. It ain't gonna make $6,000 sitting in the bank. You follow me? That's why we do stuff like that. Now think about this. If you end up coming with me to one of the places that I can show you out where I live, to where houses on the outskirts of all these places, you can buy for $35,000 or $45,000, put $10,000 into them, okay? Think about this, for that same $100,000 that we just talked about, I can buy 2 houses that I got $50,000 into, okay? Then, and this was something that Larry does quite often, okay? You end up owner financing the property, okay? You put $100,000 into 2 properties, now they're rentable, but you're gonna owner finance it, okay? Somebody would much rather think that they're going to own the property than think that they're going to rent the property, correct? But you can still get $13 or $1,400 a month payment from these people, okay? Because that's what the going rents are anyway. So they're gonna own for the same amount, okay? And you say that I'll owner finance you for 10 years, okay? But you want $10,000 down. So now you have $40,000 into it, each house. You got 20 back and everything. But you're owner financing at let's say $1,300. For that same $100,000 that you were happy to get $6,000 in 6 months, $1,000 a month. Now for the same $100,000 for 10 years on 2 properties, you're gonna get 13 and 13. That's $2,600 a month off of the same 100,000. Do you follow me? Because you invested in an area to where you could afford the houses. And people did not want to go to the bank, but they had income, such as contract workers, contractors and stuff. You know, they end up making decent money, but they probably are making some money that they're, you know, not everybody is being taxed on every bit of their earnings, okay? It's not just rich people that try not to pay taxes. Nobody likes to pay taxes. So the thing is for the same $100,000, if you can end up getting $1,300 from this, $1,300 from that for 10 years, that's $2,600 a month, okay? A lot of people don't have $3,000 a month in expenses that, you know, I mean, that would end up saving a lot of people a lot of grief, yes.
So when you say owner financing,
Yep.
what's like me as the owner
Yep,
saying I'm gonna let you move in and I'm gonna finance it, but you're actually buying the property.
yeah, what you do is you use the $100,000 that you had, you buy the 2 properties, you have about $50,000 in each one, okay? You own them free and clear. So now you end up saying, you put them up for sale with owner financing. At $1,300 a month is the mortgage payment that they sign a mortgage with you for 10 years, okay? And you can put an interest rate on it so that it ends up building interest, okay? Now, keep in mind this, I don't think that I'm gonna still be, you know, I don't know if I'll be here in 10 years or not. So what if I ended up making my money back in 4 or 5 years, and then I end up finding somebody else in the group that buys notes and say, hey, I've got a 10-year note that's got 6 years left on it. You wanna buy this note and everything for 50 cents on the dollar. They buy the notes, and now I've cashed out. And I don't have to worry about it anymore. And I have not done anything to the people that were in the house because they're still paying the same amount and the same interest rate. And somebody else just took over my position. Okay? So do you see how that works? And so it's just, where's your mind at when you're thinking this? Are you good with $100,000, making $1,000 a month? I am on a lot of occasions. But am I also okay with that same 100,000? I end up at, you see, if you're owner financing, then you're not responsible for the toilets clogging up.
That's right.
You're not responsible for the light bulbs going out. You're not responsible for cutting the grass. You're not responsible for the roof. You're not responsible for the gutters. Do you follow me? You're getting the rent in essence like you were a landlord, It's called mailbox money. Every month you go to your mailbox, you end up getting money. But you don't have to end up doing the work that a landlord does.
So what are the challenges if they don't pay and you have to foreclose?
Then
on
you
them?
still own the property, okay? And seeing as though the property is in your name, not theirs, until they pay you in full.
Think of rent to own.
It's like a
Think about
contract
it
for
like rent
deed.
to own.
Yeah, it's just like renting to own and everything. And see, now, most every state has now passed laws that you can't squat anymore. If somebody's not paying the rent, they will get you out now. They will come and get you out.
So do you have to draw up the papers like the bank would do with the,
Not quite as, I mean, it's not as detailed as that, but all of us that do this have a simple setup and everything. It covers all the bases, but it's not like you do when you go to a closing and you sit there and you end up, you know, basically signing paper after paper after paper after paper
so you
after
don't have to
paper.
have a closing?
You sit down with the person and you do close, and it's probably a good idea to have an attorney end up, you do it in an attorney's office. But,
Oh, okay.
but, you know, so that way everything's nice and legal. Okay, but you might end up, doing it in an attorney's office, and they may end up charging you $200 because they're $600 an hour and you do it in 20 minutes.
Right.
Okay, but it's done in an attorney's office and everything, so that everything is overseen and made sure that both sides are legally bound to what's going on.
Mhm.
And if you ever got into something like that, then since you come to the club, then I obviously, or one of the people that's in the club that you make friends with, would walk you through it. Okay?
There's a friend of ours, Scott Jelinek, wrote a book called Slow Flips. Slowflips.com.
That reminds me, how many of you would agree with me that the way that you fix up a house now, seeing as though everybody that's coming up through the ranks of renting houses and buying houses are now what they call next generation, new generation, millennials, this, that, and the other? Would we agree that they all have different wants than what we were doing for rehabbing properties 10 years ago? Okay, so a lot of people might not know this, but I have 4 books that have been put out, okay, over the period of a number of years. They've all made bestsellers on Amazon. The 2 most recent ones one was in 2020, and it was a #1, and then I ended up doing one that came out 2 months ago, and it made #1 on Amazon, #1 release. And I have 3 or 4 of those here, and they're $20. And it is how to rehab a property for the next generation buyer or renter and everything. So I have 3 or 4 of those in case anybody wants them. But yes, it is. I got knocked off the bestseller list by a friend of mine and everything. His name's Jeff Watson. And he ended up coming out with something called Boaz on Business. And he's an attorney friend of ours and everything. He'll be on the cruises with us and everything. And we go way back and everything. And you know, like I said, once you get into this business and everything, and you start making some friends, the most important thing that I can put to you is this: you're going to turn out exactly like who you surround yourself with. Okay? Because the first half of my life,
Do we have to move or something?
we're gonna move. We're gonna be out of here within 10 minutes. So here's the deal on this. The first half of my life, I was exactly like everybody that I hung out with. I wanted my beer. I wanted my parties. I wanted to hang out. I lived for the weekend, okay? I was working, doing this, that, and the other and everything so that I could have fun during the weekend. The more and more that I ended up getting to where I had a little more money, then I thought less about work and more about partying. And so we would start doing all kinds of stuff. And the thing is that if you lay down dogs with it, you're gonna get fleas, okay? The thing is if you hang out with 5 people and they smoke cigars, you're gonna smoke cigars. Okay? If you hang out with 5 people that drink beer, you're gonna drink beer. If you hang out with 5 people that drink wine, you're gonna drink wine. If you hang out with people that buy real estate, you're gonna buy real estate. If you hang out with people that are happy with where they're at, you're gonna stay right where you're at. If you hang out with people that are higher financially than you are, you're gonna become the next higher financial person. Okay? I did not get what I would consider significant difference in my income until I ended up being forced to leave some of my bad habits and friends behind. Okay? Because you are what you surround yourself with. Okay? So that's the one thing, okay? That's the one thing why it's so important to come to a real estate investment club, because for at least one night out of the month, you're surrounded with people that are business oriented. They are success. They want success, and most everybody in here has achieved some sort of success. And if you hang around with these people and you do what these people say, you're going to become just like these people. But if you end up going and you hang out and you watch the local band. See, I used to do this. There was a place called Miss Kitty's, and we used to go and watch somebody named Travis Tripp, who went to high school with me and everything. He was friends with us. He was from Marietta, Georgia and everything. And there was a cowboy bar where everybody line danced 35, 45 years ago. And we all used to go and hang out, drink beer, and watch him every night because he was the house band and everything. And everybody was drunk, had a great time, and everybody was smoking cigarettes and dating the same people and all kinds of stuff. And everybody that I know is still hanging out with the same people, except Travis. Travis is now a big star, okay, because he did not hang around with the same people anymore. He ended up throwing himself. He went to Nashville and he ended up meeting Marty, and Marty ended up introducing him around to some people, and then to end up getting him some publicity, he got in some arguments with Billy Ray Cyrus about old country and western people don't swing their hips like Elvis Presley and everything. Country people don't do that, and it kept him in the limelight. And this argument kept both of them, which were not supposed to be big country stars, and now they're both household names and everything. Michael Jackson used to leak stuff to the press to keep him relevant in the press, even if it was bad, as long as people were talking to him. But see, the thing is that I had to throw myself out of the party circuit and into the business mindset. And within 6 months of me ended up spending more time with successful people than people who are, I'm just comfortable right where I'm at. You can't do that shit that they're doing. I don't care about this. I don't think it works. It's, that they can have that. I'm not going to end up doing that. And, and everybody hates people that have money. But the thing is everybody wants it. And somebody who ends up saying that money can't buy happiness never had any. Okay? Because it can buy me a boat. It can buy me a truck to pull it. But, the thing is that if you surround yourself with success, you will become successful. You will be exactly what you surround yourself with. And it's your own fault if you don't surround yourself with the right people, okay? Because for less than, I'm charging $99 a year to come to this group, okay? That's less than $10 a month, okay? That's less than going to Starbucks, for a cup of coffee and a Danish, and everything, a month and everything, and some people do it every day. I know people that spend $3,600, they figured it out, $3,600 a year on Starbucks coffee that they go through the drive-through every morning and everything. And it's really not that much when you think about it. If you do it 30 days out of the year times 360 times what, $7 for on an average, figure that out. What's it cost? You know, just at the $7 and everything, that's a lot of money just on coffee. Okay, so you know, anyway, so you're gonna plot a course. You know what? Look in the local papers and everything that advertise properties. Okay, anybody can tell you where they're at. We'll have a list of them. My email is peteyoungs@gmail.com. Put an S on it. Okay. So if you ever Google me and you only put Pete Young, Y-O-U-N-G, you're going to get a baseball player. So you have to put Youngs, Y-O-U-N-G-S, Pete Youngs. Okay? Now, if you end up doing that and you end up clicking more, then you'll see literally hundreds of things on there and everything. But you're going to end up finding that that if you end up getting involved in something like some of the simple courses that we teach at this place, and it shows some of the stuff that I end up doing on there, the Home Depot tours, the mold course and stuff like that. But just the fact that you come here, you know, come here once a month and everything, and you'll be fine. Tony, by plotting a course 4 times a month, and he goes out and he looks for 8 properties and finds 30 every time he goes. Let's make it an average. He finds 100 hidden market properties per month. Now, are they all a good deal? No. But if you see 100 on just when you're just thinking you're looking at 8, and he goes from Sunday from 1 to 4. After he gets out of church, he goes from 1 to 4. So that's 4 hours and everything. And he can find an average of 30.
How does he do that? I mean, what's his strategy?
Well, you pick out 4, just like I end up saying, I pick out a certain number of listed bank-owned properties. That gives me an address to go to.
Right.
When Tony goes to these addresses, he's going because he's got a destination. But while he's going to that destination, he's looking for the things that people are driving past, going to that one that's listed. And that's where he makes
So
his
do you
money.
see something that looks like it's vacant?
Run down,
Right.
vacant.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, there's all kinds of stuff. Stickers in the window, and stuff
Gotcha.
like that. You know, see, they don't want to advertise that it's vacant. Okay, so they end up having, you know, the curtains drawn and stuff like that. They have neighbors park. Banks have neighbors. They'll pay neighbors to park cars in the driveway. Okay, the only way that you know certain things that they're going to be vacant is like they have stickers in the window so that when people go up there that are in the real estate business that are supposed to go there, it'll say, if you need to get into this house and everything, here's a phone number, but it's a little sticker like this, because they don't want to advertise it from the street. Okay, so Tony teaches all those things to find out. These are the ones. See, for every one property that the bank advertises for sale, they've got at least 150 more that they can advertise because it would flood the market. Okay, and so they have all of these properties, and every so often they'll leak some of these properties to real estate investors that they know buy multiple properties, because they can't loan money off of inventory that's non-producing. Do you follow me? The more vacant properties they have, the less money that bank makes. So they're dying to sell these things. But if they put them all on the market, then nobody's house would be worth anything, because there'd be so many to choose from, then they would be a dime a dozen. So what they do is they have to hide these. Now, once you end up getting in the know and you meet people in here that some of them work at these banks, and they sit back And they watch until they find who the real players are and who's just gonna waste time, okay? And then they'll end up going, hey, you know what, we should meet for lunch and everything. And you know, they end up meeting for lunch with a couple of people and they go, look, here's who, you know, we've swapped cards and y'all know I'm a real estate investor, but here's the deal. I'm actually a realtor, okay? You know, or I work at this bank. See, because a lot of people end up sitting in this room and you don't really know who they are until they feel comfortable letting you know who they are, okay? So, you know, there's probably people in here that are worth millions of dollars and you don't know it, all right? But you will eventually if you keep coming. So, send out 30 letters per week and everything, postcards. Remember, people don't want to open up letters, especially if you're sending out to people that are in foreclosure and stuff. If you get a foreclosure list, you know, they don't want to open up letters because every time they open up something, it's normally bad news. But if you end up having a postcard, everybody always looks at a postcard and you just out of habit read what's on the front of it because it's a postcard and you don't have to open it and everything. And you don't ever say anything about foreclosure. Something like this: hey, my wife and I are looking for a property in your neighborhood. Should you know anybody that might be interested in selling, you know, here's my number. Says nothing about foreclosure. If they're sitting there thinking, man, I really need to sell this house before I lose it, and they're getting all these people going, in foreclosure, we can help. You know, those are the people that they end up hearing, oh, don't go with anybody like that. When you see those things, those people are vultures. They're coming in to steal your house. But you know what? I was a general contractor for 40 years and everything. Hey, I'm a general contractor and I end up buying houses and fix them up and everything. If you happen to know anybody that's looking to sell a property that might need some fix up and everything, please give me a call and everything. I can put money in your pocket. You know, it says nothing about foreclosure, all right? Because the minute that they see foreclosure, then they end up thinking, oh, they know, okay? And so if they call you up and everything and you don't say you know they're in foreclosure, eventually they'll end up, once they feel comfortable with you, they'll go, well, you know what, I am sort of in the legal notices right now. And you go, oh, okay, all right. Well, then we need to end up making sure that we do this a little faster then. So, but I do have a plan for that. You follow me? It's just a matter of how you present yourself. All right, find a book, okay? Read a couple of pages a day. Any type of book, anything that's motivational, anything that'll tell you, this is the one that is newest trends in rehab properties for next generation buyers, understanding the preference of the new generations and everything. This one came out 2.5 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and it is a Amazon #1 release and everything. So I have a couple of these for $20 if you want. So Tony ends up saying, whatever it is, if you can read your Bible, you can read a business book, just a couple of pages a day. If you don't have time to read a book, read a couple of pages every day of something that sparks you to be motivated, okay? Read your goals every day. Set 5 goals, read them every day and everything. Remind yourself every day before you go out what your goals are, okay? Because you'll get sidetracked if you don't. Read a daily devotional, anything that you want to do. Now, basically, what I like to do is I like to end up grabbing a group of people, such as the people that are in here, and once we've established friendships in here. There's a lot of people in here that come on a regular basis. There's a lot of people in here that's on a first name basis with me, and we know each other and everything. If everybody ended up saying, hey, you know what, I know that we're going to do the meeting in a month and everything, but wouldn't it be cool if we all just ended up meeting at the Golden Corral and everything, and just in a non-seminar type situation, just ended up going and just breaking bread. You know, we're gonna sit down and eat some chicken, and you know, because Golden Corral for me, they got fried chicken and mashed potatoes, and to me, man, that is the way to go. Okay, you know, they got all you can eat wings, and I'm into that. I don't really care for the desserts because I don't want to waste the calories without eating good food. But you know, I mean, so everybody says, why don't we get together and do something? You know, if anybody ever wants to make a day trip, then they have places where I live that are set up to where they have big green eggs, and we pull up some boats and everything, and we end up running around, chasing each other around on pontoon boats around, and look at all the rich people's houses and go, you know, as we're driving by, we act like Bill and Ted from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Hey, seriously rich dude, what are you doing there? You know, and you know, it's fun and everything. We have a cookout, we do stuff. Ben Roethlisberger lives right across the cove from me. By the way, Ben we just found out that Ben got diagnosed with, I think, Parkinson's. What's the one where your memory goes?
You got it.
I got it right there. But anyway, so, all right, so any quick questions and everything, then I'll let y'all go so that we can get out of here. If you, first off, did anybody learn anything tonight? Was it worth your time to come and sit through this?
Yes.
How many of us gonna come back the third Thursday of next month?
So, we're visitors, can you, go over, you mentioned a little bit about this group, what you do, you know, just give an overview of this club?
Yeah, what we do.
And you didn't introduce yourself, but I know your name now, but.
Yeah, actually, I do at the very beginning and everything. I normally end up standing up. My name is Pete Youngs. I'm known as Mr. Rehab. I've done all kinds of things. My bios and everything are listed on all kinds of stuff, but I guess my claim to fame is that I was one of the contractors that oversaw the fix-up of the Olympic Village in Atlanta, Georgia for the 1996 Olympics. Me and my brother Tony started real estate investing when he was working at Lockheed over 40 years ago, and I, straight out of high school, started a painting and remodeling company. And so when Tony ended up getting off work at 3 o'clock, he would go out and start looking at properties because he went to a Dave Delgado seminar, started getting interested in foreclosures. He would go out and find properties between 3 and 6 when he had to be home for dinner. And back then in the early 80s, you didn't have to qualify for a loan in order to assume somebody's loan.
Right,
And so these people might have $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in equity in their house, and they were going to lose their house to the bank. And Tony ended up knowing from education that he bought, that if he ended up offering these people, they were going to lose their property anyway. If he ended up offering them $5,000 or $10,000 to move and sign the property over, then he would take the property over. Okay, and then I had a painting and remodeling company, so he borrowed the money from my dad and his dad, our dad, obviously, because we didn't have money at the time. He borrowed the money from my dad, our dad, to buy the property, and then he would have me come over with my painting and remodeling company and him himself, and we would fix the property up, and then he would refinance the property, get checks for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and he would send them to the guy, Dave Delgado, whose course he bought at a real estate seminar from one of those late night infomercials. And they ended up seeing to where he had sent 4 or 5 checks over $200,000 in a short period of time. And so they contacted him and said, so how are you doing this? And would you end up coming and being on our show?
Why did he send them the checks?
Do what?
He sent them.
He sent pictures.
Pictures
He
of the
didn't
checks.
send them the money.
Oh, okay.
No, he would send them pictures of the money that was making. So, you know, it turned out to be a magical thing for us, because our father put up the first money until Tony ended up making enough money to buy on his own. I had a painting and remodeling company, so and so I would fix properties up that Tony would find, and then they brought Tony on to be a testimonial for this person selling the books and tapes, and he would go up on stage and end up talking about how he used this guy's stuff to end up doing something. And I was working a table at the back of the room to where Tony, we had a video of Tony sitting down negotiating with people, and I would end up walking people around and tell them how to fix the property up. And so they would end up, this is when there would be 3,000 or 4,000 people come to a seminar. And it was unbelievable. And so they started selling Tony's video, and we ended up starting to make serious
so you
money.
and Tony are
And
like filthy rich now.
no, we're filthy. Yeah. So yeah, we've done quite well. But the more and more that we started doing, they ended up taking us on the road, and we started doing seminars, and that's where we met Robert Kiyosaki, Russ Whitney, Ron LeGrand, Donald Trump, and all these people, and we started doing real estate seminars, and people started coming to us and saying, you know, we can't have access to these people that are on TV, but we see you on TV and your number's listed. So people would come and knock on our doors and stuff because, and say, are you those people that we've seen on the infomercials? You know, hey, that's you. I've seen you on the, and so, you know, all of a sudden we started thinking, well, so they started asking us if we would train people that bought their courses, Ron LeGrand, Russ Whitney, Dave Delgado, Robert Kiyosaki. And then we started, they said, so what do you do? And we said, well, we train people over the weekend. We get a 15-passenger van. Tony walks them to the door, tries to show them how to talk to people in foreclosures. If they let them in the door, then I end up going around the house with the people after they give us permission, and I tell them what to do to fix the property up. And then we end up spending another day taking people to the courthouse and show them how to do title searches and everything. And so they said, so how do you do that? And we go, well, it takes 3 days to end up doing it. And so they said, well, will you do 3-day trainings for the people that buy ours? And all of a sudden everybody started coming out with something that they called boot camps. And so then everybody had a different boot camp. Tony and I ended up having something that was called the Foreclosure Rehab Boot Camp that started in the early 80s, 1986. From 1986 to 1994, we were doing things in Hawaii every 4 months and everything. They would film something that had Wally Famous Amos chocolate chip cookie guy and all this stuff. Y'all remember any of that stuff? And John Davidson was the host of the TV show. I got pictures on my phone of me and John Davidson where I would end up singing with John Davidson. We'd play the piano in the Hilton Hawaiian Village after the seminars and the TV shows that they were on. And Tony ended up running around doing all this stuff and everything. The next thing you know, we got contracted to train for Ron LeGrand, Russ Whitney, Robert Kiyosaki, and for 18 years we did what they call boot camps. And then everybody started making boot camps, and then they started being where they were $30,000 worth of boot camps. And we started thinking, well, they're flying around in business jets and getting $30,000, and they're paying us $500 a couple to end up training these people. But they'd send 50 people a weekend, so 50 weeks out of the year. So yes, we were making $25,000 to $30,000 in a weekend because we were selling every weekend. So we did make a lot of money then, okay, back then. Then reality hit and everything, because you know you give a couple of young Georgia boys a bunch of money and everything, and they're gonna run around and think that they're cool and all kinds of stuff. And you know, we bought limousines and houseboats and had people drive us around and all this kind of stuff. And then we found out it's not all about, what you look like and everything. And, so we started to lose some money and everything, and we started figuring out that the real estate business is not necessarily about how much money you can make, it's about how many people you can help. And if you can help the people, then you won't lose the money. So we had to I'm not gonna say get rich, I'm gonna say we had to get successful more than once in order to realize what the real deal of, success and financial freedom is not the amount of money that you have, it's what you do with your time and your money. And if you do the right thing with your time, the money comes. So, I'll see y'all next Thursday. Not next Thursday, next third Thursday of the month. All right? And Google me. Just Google.